I'm reading from the book Path to Happiness today and focusing on the keyword recognition, which is related to the whole principle of exploration, self-exploration. Recognition. Linguistically, the word is re-cognition, again knowing. It carries resonance with such ideas as understanding, empathy, communion, and remembrance. It suggests a state of reconnection with an aspect of self that has been forgotten. This is the universal aspect. So there is a part of us as individuals that touches unity, and this can identify itself as universal. If we can but remember it, then we know unity. It is this that motivates the mind towards spiritual practice. The forgetting itself is an inevitable result of incarnation, since the separation that established individuality necessarily precludes our identification with unity. We cannot be both lost in transcendence and committed to corporeal existence. They are mutually exclusive by their very essence. Yet even as we are bound by physicality, the universal aspect of self knows of itself and yearns to be recognized. The yearning is both a feeling and a perception. To represent this yearning, let's use the analogy of the ocean with its surface and its depth. Its deeper regions are dark and mysterious, while its surface is wind-blown and ephemeral in nature. Each interconnects and informs the other, and despite having very different appearances, they are not in fact separate at all. They are aspects of each other. The depth of the ocean is like the soul. The surface is like the mind. Our yearning for recognition expresses as the soul's dark and mysterious memory, having a womb-like quality that echoes with our pre-birth knowledge of eternal realities. As mind, the yearning is projected onto the surface phenomena and scenarios of life and creates what we consider to be reality. This is called Maya by Hindus and Ishq by Sufis. It is very helpful and perhaps even enlightening to comprehend that the illusion of life has its origins in our soul's yearning to remember itself. If the soul were to remember itself, it would need to soften its boundaries of separation so that it could merge with the stuff of which it is made, pure spirit. A Sufi story tells of the salt puppet who has lived all of his life in the desert until he travels to the sea for the very first time. He dips his toe into the water to find out what it is, and as the toe dissolves, he learns that he must surrender part of himself in order to find out. This yearning for recognition is more powerful than his delight in self-love, so he walks into the ocean, simultaneously losing himself and rediscovering himself. As human beings, we are partly motivated towards self-love and self-proclamation, and partly motivated by universal love and self-surrender. Demanding to be recognized for your achievements and for your wonderfully charismatic personality is entirely valid. All power to you as you make your claims. Yet the equal and opposite yearning for recognition is soul-based and only ever fulfilled by surrendering to unity. This can be achieved through a spiritual practice that awakens the transcendental state. Such practices do not need to be religious in the sense that they belong to a system of belief, yet neither can they be equated simply to our love of nature or music. We can indeed access transcendental states through these and other things, but not just by liking them a lot. Perhaps theoretically we can arrive at the gate to transcendence alone, but in Sufism it is not thought either effective or wise to make the journey without guidance. The risk of self-deception is high, and there is also a quite realistic risk of possession too. We began this study with an emphatic foundation of strong boundaries, for good reason. The light of self-discovery is juice to those agencies that feed on others. We must guard against them. Recognition arises when we have mastered exchange. The exaltation of the principle of exchange is found within the state of reflexive self consciousness. This phrase is also known as the Golden Rule, which explains that it's a good idea to be aware of the impact we are having on others in all of our behaviors, since we get back what we give out. If we want to receive abundance, then we need to be generous. If we want to be loved, then we must be loving. And to the point in hand, if we want to be recognized, then we have to offer that first. Without exception, everyone we meet is a pale version of their potential selves. We are all capable of a greater depth and width of self-expression. This potential can be awakened by recognition. As we recognize potential in another, then they can feel the recognition as an energy field and step into this field, which is created by the attention we are giving to it. In other words, we create a mental image of a world in which this person has realized further aspects of themselves, and they can then bring it into reality by making their claim. This claiming is also called assumption. Parents have a profound responsibility to co-create a positive, encouraging story of their child's capabilities. So too do priests and teachers for their followers. It is perhaps controversial to make the observation that history's infamous criminals, from Genghis Khan to Stalin, don't even scratch the surface of the evil perpetrated by religions and teachers that disallow self-expression on moral grounds, and point to the great denier in the sky as their authority for their bullying psychological violence. They brainwash their flock into being afraid to live and even more afraid to die. One message is enough. By following the Golden Rule, you will come to recognize yourself, and then you will know unity. All else is padding. Now, when we are one with ourselves, one with God, one with the environment in which we currently are right now, the sense of Holy Spirit is strong. We're aware of Holy Spirit. This is Qudus in Sufism. And we can bring our attention to that in a special way. We can put ourselves simultaneously as the observer and the observed. And this brings us into a state of high communion. And this witnessing, this is Shahid. Ya Shahid. When we witness our lives, ourselves, our environment, other people, everything, when we witness that from the point of Holy Spirit, then we can reach a very, very special level of empathy and rapport and understanding. Ya Qudus. Ya Shahid. 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 Amen.